Hello, everybody. Welcome to Acquisitional Wealth, episode number 18. If it is your first time here, I would strongly suggest pushing pause, open up another tab, go back to episode 1, start there. The reason is this is not just your normal podcast. These episodes all build upon each other, like some masterclass on mergers and acquisitions and entrepreneurship as a whole. So go back, listen to episode 1, 2, 3, and bring yourself back up here. And if that was you, welcome back. All right, so episode number 18 is going to be a little bit of a fun one. I'm sure that some of my colleagues in this industry are going to hate it, but that's the way life goes. So we're going to cover something today on signs of a bad business broker. Ooh, I know, I'm already getting prepared for the hate mail. But before we get to that, make sure to grab your copy of Acquisitional Wealth wherever great books are sold, and any of my other books, actually. Join our free Facebook group, Acquisitional Wealth. Go over there, join that. What else? You can attend our free events. Free events! Yes, absolutely free events. Unlike these other idiots on the internet who try to make a living, or at least 10% or more of their income from being an expert, we just know that that's just crap on a cracker. So we don't do that. We provide courses for free. All right, so today's topic: signs of a bad business broker. Gives me chills. So, why did we even get into this business? I did not intend to become a business broker. I started my business journey as an adult anyway. I was an entrepreneur way back in middle school. But as an adult, I started my entrepreneurship journey back in 1995. I know, I feel old when I say it too. But that's when I started. So I've been doing this a long, long time. Back then, me and Moses started... I'm just kidding. But it was a long time ago. I've been doing this for a long time. In 2017, one of my clients for another business had listed his business for sale. Half of all businesses listed for sale never sell. Ironically, we'll get to that in a minute. But I thought, oh my gosh, the two brokerages that you used absolutely sucked. So since I bought and sold my own companies in the past, I thought, well, let me try this and, see if I can help you. And it worked phenomenally. So phenomenally that I'm not even going to tell you. If you come to our event, I'll tell you how it turned out. But it went great. So at that point, 2017, we said, okay, if a lot of the other business brokers around the country that we've had to deal with in the past are as terrible as they really are, maybe we should get into this. And we did. So it was never my intention to become a business broker, let alone one of the leading business brokers in the country. It was just circumstances led us here because of how bad the industry is. Now, with that being said, let me defend the industry a little bit too. There are some wonderful brokerages out there. There really are, and it's not just mine. As a matter of fact, I would even add an asterisk to this and say, and yes, if you're new, that's my asterisk, and say, contrary to what somebody might think watching this, well, you're just saying this because you're trying to promote your brokerage. Nope, not true. Every state has their own rules as to who can be a broker and who can't. I cannot operate in every state. It would be foolish for me to say, I'm just going to make content to advertise my business. If I was that stupid, you shouldn't listen to the content anyway. The reason I'm making the content is to educate you so you are better equipped. Now, with that being said, there are some wonderful brokers across the country. There really are. And I love going to broker conventions and meeting them, and we've done deals together. Love it, love it, love it. So, just like any industry, bad, good. The reason why I felt it was important to do an episode on pointing out the bad versus the good is because unlike other industries, most people, at least at this point, are not familiar with the fact that business brokers actually exist anyway. Most people think maybe commercial real estate agents do that, and in some states like Florida, well, don't get me started on Florida, but the reality is that the industry is new to a lot of people. That's why I feel it's important that we create an episode talking about signs of a good versus bad broker. You ready? Got a pen? Let's begin. Number one sign of a bad broker: they haven't owned multiple businesses in multiple industries. I know we're already at point number one, and I know that other business brokers are going to send me hate mail in a second. But I feel and think, there's a difference between feel and think, but both of them, for me, confirm that at least the owner of the brokerage or the head of the brokerage should be somebody who has owned multiple businesses. Unlike other sort of commission-based, deal-based sort of positions in the world, this isn't something that you can just fake it and make it, right? Do I think every Aston Martin dealership should be owned by somebody who's owned 7 Aston Martins? No. Do I think every realtor in town has to have lived in 10 houses before, No. But this is a different beast. There are so many moving parts. There are so many pieces of a deal that need to be negotiated. There are so many things that can go wrong in the process. This is not the time to say to the pilot of your airplane, hey, how long have you been a pilot? I haven't yet. This is going to be our first flight together.
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
No, it's not. But you have a lot of brokers out there who have never owned businesses and never bought or sold a business. And they're just like, well, this is probably a good profession to make money. I'm going to start a brokerage. Now, that's not saying that some of the agents in a brokerage need to have that depth of experience. No, as long as there's somebody at the top of this ship who's been down these roads before, or using the ship analogy, has traveled these seas before. But if they haven't, that's kind of a warning sign. Number 2, they are a former business owner turned broker. Now, it might seem that, well, Josh, doesn't that contradict what you just said in number 1? I mean, how could them being a business owner turned broker be bad when you said that every brokerage should be owned or ran by somebody who's owned multiple businesses? I don't get it. Well, let me explain. There is this tendency, especially for some of the cheesier business brokers, to hire people whose businesses they've just sold. And these people have probably owned one business in their life. They just sold it. The company that just sold it for them, the brokerage, made some money for them, got it. And now the brokerage wants to grow. And to be honest, turnover in this industry is high. And part of the reason it's high is because deals can take a while to get done. And that means it can take a while for a new broker or an agent or whatever to make an income. So these kind of cheesy companies love to target people who've just sold their business because they have money to live on for 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 months, whatever, while they build their book of business. And while it might sound advantageous for the brokerage to hire them, I would say in the past several years, we've dealt with dozens and dozens and dozens of these people, and none of them, not a single one, actually knew what they were doing. They were absolutely terrible, and they were more terrible than the people who come in absolutely green and learn from the beginning because they think because they've owned one business that they have this level of expertise or wisdom to bring to the table, when in reality, they don't. Whereas the new person, totally green, would say, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me seek some expert help and at least get the job done for you. So, yeah, warning flag number 2, they used to own a business. Now they're a broker, or at least an agent with a brokerage. How do you tell? Ask them. And what's worse yet, if they're a broker or an agent for the same brokerage that sold their business. Yeah, and then typically you're dealing with some sort of franchise model, but we'll get to that in a second. Number 3, they don't focus on buyers. So here's the reality, kids. Most businesses that are for sale will never find a buyer, ever. Unlike a house where you can be like, well, eventually somebody's going to come along and buy this thing. It's not the case with businesses. Thousands of businesses a week just shut down because they didn't find a buyer. And we've done shows on that, so we won't go too deep into that. But because that's true, and it is, what a lot of these brokers do is they focus on getting listings as if this is some form of, real estate. And while real estate might be involved, this is not even related to that same sort of industry, with the exception of, obviously the transaction portion that involves real estate, but you get the point. Totally different industry. But they treat it like that. They're like, oh, we got to go get listings. And the reason they do that is for two reasons. One, they don't know any better because this isn't really the industry they should be in. And two, they know that half of the businesses they list will probably never find a buyer. So if we list 100, at least we sell 50 and we make our money. To the other 50, well, it didn't work out for you, say lovey. That's ugh. Not only is it terrible for the buyers and the sellers in this industry, because neither party gets the service that's needed, required, or deserved, but it has a tendency to just destroy purchase prices and approval rates and all that sort of stuff. But either way, just know that that's kind of a flag also. If they are focusing primarily on getting listings, that's a flag. Excuse me. And I've seen it so where people at some of these brokerages go, we don't rep buyers at all. That falls into the tell me you're an idiot without telling me you're an idiot. But whatever. Number 4, which ironically is really closely related to this. The brokerage doesn't co-broker with other brokerages. And they're going to have some sort of lame and false reason for this. Well, it allows us to focus more on getting you the right deal, or you don't have to pay us as you would if we represented you, or some other sort of just, you'd have to be an idiot to believe it, but they're hoping you're an idiot. The reason why it's important that the brokerage you're dealing with co-brokers, because it just makes a lot more financial sense. The only reason they wouldn't want to do it, there's only 2 reasons. Well, maybe 3. We'll even be nice and throw in a third. The first one, well, if we co-broker, it could mess up the deal and the deal couldn't get done because we don't know if the other side knows what they're doing. Typically, that's not true if the brokerage wanting to co-brokers approaching you. That's typically not the case. The ones that co-broker tend to be the wisest people in the room. But let's just give it to them. Let's say that's a possibility. What are the other reasons? Reason number 2 is if they don't represent a deal where they'll co-broker, then that means the buyer can be kind of ripped off. And I'm not just making that up. Even legally, that's true. There's a difference between a customer and a client, right? A customer is somebody that doesn't have what's called agency, which means if you're selling to this person, you can't do anything, illegal or immoral, but you don't really have to look out for their best interests either. It's kind of like that proverbial, they're selling a house, and if you don't ask me what's behind that door, I don't have to tell you. I know, there's people like that out there. But that's kind of what it's like. So if they just keep the buyers, whether it's buyers who approach them to want to be represented or buyers that are being co-brokered, if they keep them from being represented in any way, shape, or form, they can typically kind of, scam them a little bit. And I know scam's the wrong word, but I can't find a better one. You get the point. The third reason they wouldn't want to co-broker is because they are greedy. They want the money. Why would I give a portion of what I make to you? You're only bringing the other half of the transaction. Yeah, and typically, What's being brought is the buyer. And if you understand numbers, economics, business, profit, the buyer is actually more important than the seller. Yeah, this isn't real estate. Number 5, they just relay information. They're not really involved in deal strategy. This one is so stinking common. Again, a lot of people get into this thinking it's like real estate, and nothing against my home selling friends out there. Nothing at all. Matter of fact, I own a real estate brokerage. So asterisk, y'all are wonderful. But it's not the same game. If you're selling a house, the realtor is really just kind of a liaison. And I'm not saying it's not important. That's not what I'm saying. But they're just kind of a liaison. And they're just relaying information, right? Well, he'll take $1.2 million if you replace the windows. They're just going back and forth. And unfortunately, that's the way a lot of brokers and agents and brokerages in this space approach our industry. And it's 100% incorrect. It's a terrible disservice to the clients. But you want somebody who can strategically craft good deals. Let me give you an example. We were working with a client. They were going to buy a business in Florida. The business was in a leased space, which is very common. When a buyer buys a business in a leased space, there's going to be an assignment of lease. If there's a loan, especially if it's an SBA loan, you're going to want to get, or the SBA is going to want to get an extended lease for about 10 years. And they're going to want to have the subordination of a lien, which basically means that if the new business owner defaults, the SBA has the ability to get the assets out of that unit and sell it, or the bank, the lender, you get the point, have the ability to get those assets to sell it to try to recoup the cost of the loan. All very normal, common stuff. And stuff that most landlords would love, because if you are trying to lease a property to make money, this is a manna from heaven situation. So anyway, we had a buyer looking to buy a business in Florida. The business in Florida was represented by a broker. And they said, well, we would love to sell you the business. We went through the LOI and everything, but the landlord is refusing to sign off on the lease assignment, and the deal is done. And I said, absolutely not. That's not how leases work, at least not in the United States. Send me a copy of the lease. And I looked over the lease for them. Now, keep in mind, I'm now working for free for the seller, the seller's broker, the seller's lawyer, and ironically, the seller's landlord. And I looked over the lease and I said, no, according to Section 10, subsection B, according to Section 14, subsection A and B, the landlord cannot deny this. They only have outlined remedies, and all that we need to do is tell the landlord, this is what's going to happen. Now you, landlord, just tell us what remedy you have outlined in this lease that you're going to choose in response to what we're going to do. And the broker gets on the phone with us and goes, oh my gosh, you guys are great. And it's great that you complimented me. I'll take it. But it shouldn't have had to happen. That's my point. The broker on the other end of that phone call should have known enough to do that. The lawyer should have known enough to do that. So then the other side, asked me to compose a letter explaining to everybody how the lease works and what the legal options are. And then the lawyer writes back and goes, yeah, he's right. And again, I don't want the praise. I really don't. The fact that I'm getting praise just shows that your side didn't know what the hell they were doing, because they just thought it was like real estate and you offer a price and I'll take it to my buyer. And if they accept it, I'll help you get the paperwork done and make a commission. So you have to be really careful with that. Your broker should be the smartest person at the table, man, on deal strategy and alternative routes and problem solving and project management. And it's not just, well, tell me a price and I'll take it to them. Why would you pay that person anything? Anyway, leads into number 6. They don't know what they're doing. This is so stinking common. We do co-broker both directions. Sell side, buy side. We co-broker. We think it's a wonderful thing to do. But I cannot believe how many brokers have no clue what they're doing. They don't understand the vocabulary. They don't understand, and not even the vocabulary, because that's, that can change, right? Depending on which episode of Billions they watched. But they don't understand the mechanics of how businesses work, that sort of stuff. Avoid them. The problem is, for a buyer or a seller who's not experienced in this, it's hard to know if they're experienced in this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to admit, that's a hard one. Because how do you know if you don't know how this works, if they don't know how this works? So that's a hard one. I'm just saying it's a sign of a bad broker. And number 7, they are part of a franchise-based model for business brokers. This isn't necessarily a red flag. It's certainly yellow, maybe even orange. But there's a few business brokerages that franchise the business broker opportunity. Sometimes we have had great deals go through with them. So, like I said, not a red flag necessarily, but an orange one. And the reason you have to be kind of careful with this is because whenever you sell a franchise, the main objective is to make the franchise, the franchisor, money, which tends to lead to a lack of quality training. Just look at fast food, right? Who makes a better burger? A fast food chef or a chef that spent 8 years honing their craft? And nothing against fast food chef. It's almost lunchtime. I might, now that I'm talking about it, go there. But you get the point, right? There's just a natural tendency to compromise on quality. There's a natural tendency for these sort of locations to be the ones that, hey, we sold your business. What are you going to do next? Want to become a broker? That sort of stuff, which is just, again, crap on a cracker. So just kind of be aware that that's out there and do your research. So those are the 7 signs of a bad broker, part 1. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And more importantly, I hope it helped you. Again, remember, subscribe, share, like, do all that sort of social media stuff. Share. Get a copy of Acquisitional Wealth wherever books are sold. You don't even have to buy it from my site. Just get it. Attend our free events. Join our free Facebook group, Acquisitional Wealth, by the same name. And I'll see you in episode 19.